If you'd ever wondered how you can turn a Prince Nymph into something that will catch even more fish, I'm going to show you. Stay tuned.
Yeah, that's a big brown.
All right, so the Jig Streamer style fly is a really good one for slower waters. We use it a lot in the winter, but you can use it wherever. The idea is for these streamers to be fished on a Euro rig and get down fast. So in order to do this, we've got our bead on the jig hook, which is a 4.5 millimeter bead. If you could get away with it, you could even do a 5 or bigger. But in order to make this get down, we're going to go ahead and put some lead wire right behind the bead. So the idea is to have 4 or 5 turns of lead. You'll notice that as you push the lead up to the bead, it will push the bead upwards, which is what you want. We can secure that with our thread when we tie that on. So we're going to take some thread, and we're using red in this case, and push, and then do a bunch of thread wraps to secure that lead in place. Okay, so we've got our lead tied in there, and the idea is really just a color scheme of the popular Prince Nymph pattern on a jig streamer. So the first thing we're going to do is just grab some marabou, and you don't want to use too much. This would be probably the biggest difference between the standard pattern and this guy in terms of materials and hook and the type of bead. I want about a double body length, so about that, and I'll just tie that in right behind the lead clump. That just helps even the body out. And on this one, I want to make sure that the marabou's right on top. Alright, now this is a purely optional step. I'm going to put buyouts on either side because we're on a Prince Nymph theme, and you have to have buyouts for a Prince Nymph. But first, we're going to tie in our ribbing because it's easier to do before the buyouts are tied in. This is going to be some sulky gold metallic. This is good stuff. It is strong and shiny. And then just tie that on top, kind of out of the way. And now our buyouts. Again, totally optional, but on theme. Just going to grab 2. You can do them at once. I just prefer doing them separately. I want the curve facing out, so, and these don't need to be very long, because if they're too long, the fish will not eat this, because they will say those buyouts are looking messed up. So maybe a 3/4 length of the shank, somewhere in there. And we'll do our other one, same gig. So when we're done, you just have 2 of them tied in there. And I'll leave the thread right in that zone. Again, these are fishermen only, these buyouts. They serve no purpose, but maybe they do. I caught fish with this fly with the buyouts on. Okay, now we need our Peacock Curl. So usually want to grab 2 or 3 fibers of Peacock Curl. Nothing too fancy. And we will counter wrap these. Also, I'm going to tie them in at the tip. Well, I'm trimming the tip because these tips are kind of nasty on this one. But what I want to do is tie these so that they run the length of the body. It's just going to give a little bit more bulk to the body, I should say. Vice is getting out of whack here. And we'll just work our way up with the thread. You could cut these biots off. I was lazy, but it doesn't matter because we can clip them off now. Easy peasy. Now we're going to grab our peacock fibers, and what I'll do on these ones is I'm going to counter wrap them. So normally you would go away from yourself and over. These ones will go in the opposite direction. And also, I don't have a bobbin holder, so I'm just going to give my thread a few extra wraps. And then I just hold these Peacock Curl fibers together and work my way up. I just go all the way. And then you want to make sure you secure these in because the wraps are going in the same direction or the opposite direction of the thread, so the thread would actually tend to unravel these. Trim the waist. Sorry, Davey. And then on the ribbing, we're just going to hit that with wraps. Tie that off, give it a trim. Okay, now I've had really good success with jig streamers that have soft hackle on them, and other streamers too. So what you want to do is grab yourself a fine piece of, I like whiting, hen saddle. Hen fibers or hen feathers are going to be better because they're webbier, more conducive to tying a soft hackle. So this one is a whiting red label hen saddle. I'll list a few in the link below. So I'll trim off one side. Now what I like to do is I like to actually trim one entire side so that this wraps a little cleaner. That's just me. Maybe wasteful, who knows. But that way I have the empty side, the stripped side, will be facing down when I tie this in. So we're just going to tie it in just like that. You can see the stripped side is leading. Lock that in. And it's a good idea to have some sort of hackle plier. I like these C&F jobbers, they do the trick. And then I'm going to go for a couple, 3 turns. Again, this is stripped, so you don't have as much bulk, so don't get worried about having a ton. I'm just going to go to where I stripped that amount off. Come back in there, capture. Did I get that? Apparently I did. Okay, and then we're going to pull the little waist piece there and I'll trim that. That's one you don't want to pull like the other one. The other piece you could do that. And now we're just going to give some pull back wraps. Just take your fingers, pull the back, and then you just want to place a wrap or two right in front of where those ended. That'll end up helping push those fibers back a little ways. Not the end of the world. And then one final step. I would probably give a little bit more credence to these buyouts having a purpose, more probably of a hot spot than anything else, but we're going to grab some white goose buyouts and tie them in that traditional style as horns right on the top there. Now these ones I'll just tie in together. You just kind of put them at a bit of an angle. I like to go about 3/4 back over the body, maybe a little longer, but not much. I give it a soft wrap the first time around, and then you can kind of gauge how they need to be set. And if it looks good, give it another soft wrap, tug directly down. Then I'll come in front of the buyouts and a couple of wraps before I trim these, and then we can go back over with our thread and secure them. And so I'll just kind of pull everything back here and apply a few more wraps and a whip finish. Two for good measure. Okay, there is our jig streamer in the Prince Nymph style. Give this a try. Check out all the materials you'll need in the link in the description below, and you can check out our website also in that same link for all of your fly tying needs. Get these tied up.